This is the moment that I've been working towards for about a year. Our new CEO starts at our renewables business, Elite Renewables, tomorrow. But it's taken owning 3 businesses and hiring 4 CEOs and MDs for me to actually figure out how to do this properly. So the biggest blocker for many businesses trying to sell is who's actually going to run it. And to be fair, in the last couple of years, I've spoken to about 250 business owners trying to sell their business. And I can count on one hand the number of businesses in that group that would actually survive for more than about a week without the founder being involved. Usually this is because the business isn't ready and the owner isn't ready. All the decisions flow through them. All the customers and the team, suppliers defer to that person. Take them out and it's like removing the tent pole. Everything just folds in on itself. I've now been through this process 4 times across 3 businesses, and each time I've learnt different lessons about what it takes to actually hand over the keys. And by the way, 2 went well, 2 didn't. So let me explain. Firstly, an example of when it goes right. At my marketing agency, Exposure Ninja, I figured out I wasn't the right person to be long-term CEO of this business in about 2023. Well, actually, I figured it out many years before that, but I only made the decision to step aside as CEO in 2023. So how did I know? Well, honestly, I was a little bit bored. There were other things that I wanted to do, and I found myself causing chaos and breaking things just to spice things up a bit. Luckily, I had someone in the business, Charlie, who had acted as our COO and general manager before that. And she's been with me for many, many years. So she knew the team, the company, the clients. She knew everything about Exposure Ninja actually in more detail than I did. So when I was ready to hand over to her and she was going to become CEO, it was quite a natural transition. Now, that's not to say it was immediately perfect. It took me a bit of time to learn to let go of all of the decisions, and it took her a bit of time to learn that she can actually take those decisions. But she took some decisions early on that I never would have taken, and they went really well. So that showed both of us that this was going to be great. And last year, under Charlie's leadership, Exposure Ninja had its best year ever. But most of the time, this isn't replicable. Not every business has a Charlie in it. There might be some future Charlies, but they might not quite be ready yet. So sometimes you need to bring in an external candidate, and I have got this wrong twice. So let's talk about that. At Pyramid Eco, our insulation business, we hired 2 MDs to run this company. The challenge was this business was mid-pivot. Pyramid operates in the insulation space, which is very, you might say dynamic, you could also say chaotic. There's a lot of changes, government changes, policy changes, funding changes that mean the landscape is constantly shifting. We decided to bring in an MD to stabilize things and to help us navigate all of this. We actually tried this twice, both times bringing in very experienced, very capable candidates that on paper were more than capable of running a business like this. But Pyramid just didn't have the structure for this to make sense. It was still too fluid. And rather than bringing in a CEO or MD who would have lots of direct reports, make decisions and act through those direct reports with clear lines of communication and direct the strategy of the business, Pyramid just needed more boots on the ground. It needed a sort of founder mentality because essentially it was operating like a startup. So neither of those CEOs/MDs worked out. We've continued to run Pyramid in this sort of founder energy scrappy way for about a year, and it's actually growing really quickly. This seems to suit this stage of Pyramid's growth much better. At some point, of course, Pyramid will be ready for us to go again and hire another MD or CEO. We'll do it when Pyramid has the formal structure to justify a CEO. Which brings us nicely onto Elite Renewables. I acquired Elite Renewables about a year ago, and it's a fantastic company, amazing reputation. Like many businesses of its size, which is about 7 million in revenue, it was still heavily dependent on founder Martin, who is, and probably always will be, Mr. Elite. Martin's experience and knowledge of the industry meant that he was pretty indispensable, sharing his information and his knowledge across the team, being a client liaison, and understanding how the company works. Now, inside Elite, there is also a fantastic ops director, Lewis. Lewis knows every piece of detail about what is going on in the company. There are great managerial heads, there's a fantastic technical lead, and just a brilliant general team inside the company. But our plan was always to bring in an external CEO to run it when the time was right. I ran Elite with Lewis and Dave, our group CFO, for about a year. I was sort of acting as interim CEO during this time, which just allowed me to understand the business, understand the different levers, and start working with the team to build in some of the infrastructure, increase stability, make some structural changes to the team. We wanted the CEO to come in, not to have to figure out the business, but to be able to run it and direct it. Eventually, it became time and we decided to pull the trigger. We actually spent about 6 months looking for the perfect CEO candidate for Elite. We talked to loads of different people with lots of different types of background, industry insiders, outsiders, people who are new in their career, more experienced in their career, before choosing our CEO, Nico. At the time of filming this, Nico starts tomorrow, and the Elite that Nico will be in charge is not perfect. It still has its challenges. There are some challenges that, honestly speaking, nobody in the renewables industry has figured out yet. But Elite is now a machine stacked full of talent and ready to be led. So let's go meet Nico and let's see how his first day and week go. So I'm on my way to the office to see Nico and get him started on his first day. Tuesdays are a pretty full day at Elite. We have a planning meeting which lasts most of the morning, where we get all of the current projects that the team are working through, well over 100 of those, and just go through line by line what their status is. So it'll be really good for him to sit in on this meeting and just see how the team operates, the types of projects that we're going through, and also anything that's holding those projects up as well. We then have a sales meeting where we talk through what's going on with the pipeline, how many leads we're generating at the moment. Then I've got some time to sit through with him and go through any observations and any thoughts. We've been talking a bit in the run-up, just going through a bit of onboarding and talking through some different plans and stuff that Elite's working on, but this will be a good time to actually catch up in person. And then we have a second interview with a sales candidate. Again, I just want him to sit in on that to see how the sales team recruit, what sort of candidates we get through, because one of the areas that he's going to spend a bit of time on is the sales side of things. I'm also keen for him to show what he can do with interviews as well, so running through the process there. Basically, the plan is just to immerse him in as much Elite stuff as possible in this first week. He's already got loads of great ideas. He's already been sharing a bunch of things that he's been thinking about and planning and working on, so really excited to turn him loose, really. So Nico, first day, how have you found things?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, great meeting the whole Elite team. A lot of meeting time. We had the planning meeting today, so discussing all our projects, which is super interesting. And then, really just getting to know the rest of the team and a bit more about the business. So a lot to take in, lot to absorb, but really exciting.
Yeah, awesome. There's so much to, it's a very high volume fire hose to drink from, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
sure.
seeing that planning meeting in your first day is quite intense because there's a lot of stuff going on there. But yeah, you seem to have taken it all in and doing well. So yeah,
cool.
So Nico, end of the first week, how have you found it?
Yeah, fantastic. It's been awesome to get to meet everyone at Elite. Been a lot to take in, but it's been a fantastic first week.
So we're here on a project right now, and you've just been sort of grabbing some of the team one-to-one, just having a chat. Like, what are you looking for in those conversations?
Sure, just how they're finding Elite, things that we're doing well, things that we can improve on, how they're enjoying their role, how we can further the development in their role. So really just was keen to get out to the field and understand a bit more about our customers and the projects that we're working on as well. So yeah, it's been really good doing that.
It's amazing to see how you've sort of come in and immediately started picking up on things that we could be improving. As someone who spent the last year sort of laser focused on it, the meeting that we had yesterday looking through the sales process and the customer onboarding process, immediately you're sort of spotting things and connecting dots that we hadn't done. So it's great to see how someone with a fresh perspective can have such a sort of an immediate effect there.
Yeah, for sure. And the business is doing a lot of things really, really well. But just like any business, there's areas for improvement, whether it's finance, whether it's in our operations, whether it's in our customer experience. And it's always helpful having that fresh outside perspective to see what we're doing in those areas that we can improve.
And I think one of the reasons that were really keen to bring you on is because you've got such a wide range of very transferable skills, not necessarily in solar and heat pumps and batteries, but in other areas which maybe you can bring a different set of perspectives to this role that maybe doesn't exist already in the company.
Yeah, for sure. And I've my previous experience was as a Biotech Chief Commercial Officer, and so that was a completely different technology to what we're working with today. And so there's obviously been a bit of work from myself to get up to speed with exactly the technology and the service that we're providing, but I'm also taking a lot of the lessons that we learned there, which was a services company within biotech, and translating that across to what we're doing here at Elite. And so that's been very helpful.
Amazing. It's great to have you on the team.
Cool. Thanks, Tim.